Welcome back to AvPlan EFB, Part 6, Advanced Flight Planning. In this episode, we'll be looking at some advanced flight planning features, including multi-stage flight planning, inserting an RNAV into a flight plan. We'll be looking at some of our flight plan reports, some of our multiple flight plan reports, and we'll also take a look at the lowest safe altitude calculator. So let's begin by setting up a flight plan. Let's tap New Flight Plan and put in where we are. I'm here in Bankstown, so I'll pop YSBK in here. And as you know from previous webinars, there are multiple ways we can do this. Building our flight plan, I'm going to use the touching of the map to add the flight plan, to build the flight plan here. So first I'm going to tap on the old Wollongong, which is now called Shell Harbour. And that will bring up the airport here. I'm going to add it to my flight plan. Then I'm going to scroll down, take a look at where else I want to go. Now I might like to go through this lane of entry here through Nowra. And so first of all, I'm going to turn off my Sigmet, which is covering the map here. So just tap the top there at forecasts, the radar symbol, and turn off Sigmets here. That will give us a little bit more visibility while we do our flight planning. Now let's plan through this VFR route here by tapping on the VFR waypoints. So let's begin with Kiama, pop Kiama in there. And next up we will put in Woi, followed by Wand, followed by Ulladulla. That will keep us as VFR pilots in the VFR lane there through Nowra. Then let's fly on down to Moruya. Here, we'll add Moruya to the flight plan. Okay, now let's say we want to land at Shell Harbour, have a break before carrying on. So let's simply tap Shell with our finger and press land here. This will set us up with a second stage flight plan. Stage 1, Bankstown to Wollongong. Stage 2, Wollongong to Moruya via the lane. And you can go on building stages by pressing land here every time you want to land somewhere, which will start a new stage. Each stage will contain its own information regarding that particular stage. And when we go over to weight and balance, tap planning, tap aircraft loading weight and balance, you'll see now that we have 2 stages of weight and balance. So by taking your finger and pulling it from right to left, you can change your stages there. So let's go back to the en route page and continue with our flight planning. First of all, let's pop in an ETD and some altitudes. So UTC, of course, is at the top here. So let's say we want to go in an hour, which is 001. Sorry, 0130. There we are, and that will default to the 6-figure group for us there. Now, of course, AvPlan doesn't know how long we want to be on the ground at Shell Harbour. So for the second stage, we require a second ETD. So let's pop that in now. Let's assume we want to be on the ground for an hour catching up with a friend in Shell Harbour. Let's put our ETD as 0230, 46 there. And that's our second stage ETD in. Now let's add some altitude. So at Camden, we want to be at 2,500. Now that's going to populate the entire flight plan here, or the entire first stage, I should say, rather. Shell Harbour, we want to change. Let's take that at 4.5 so that we can clear the escarpment. And then our second stage plan, we know we have to be 2,000 through the lane. So let's pop 2,000 in there, and that will populate the lane down here all the way. Marimbula, we can pick our altitude up again, and let's go at 4,500 down the coast. So as you can see here, we've put in our own altitudes there, but of course we could have used the altitude optimizer over here in planning under optimize altitudes. And that would give us our suggestions for each stage, stage 1. And then if you scroll down, you'll see stage 2 here also. So now we have a 2-stage flight plan. And we've chosen our own altitudes there. But as I said, we could have used the optimizer there also. Let's say we are flying IFR. We could click over to IFR here, and we can choose from various routes. We can take the direct, we can take the shortest, as you can see there, that's via hooks, or we can tap to find recently filed routes here. Everyone who's filed a route here will show, and we can add those by simply adding the plus there. We're going to switch over to VFR again for a moment so we can take a little look at going through the lane, the VFR lane, to make sure I've got all that correct there, double checking. And now what we can do is we can add an RNAV back to IFR if we like, or not. We can add an RNAV to our approach here into Shell Harbour. So firstly, let's overlay the chart over the map by pressing on Shell Harbour and scrolling down to the georeference symbol. Let's say we want to do the RNAV at runway 16. Tap on the geo symbol, and that will pull the map, the chart over the map here. You can see you can change the opacity by sliding your finger if you want to make it go away briefly, and pulling it back up again by sliding your finger over the slider there. Now to add your approach to your flight plan, simply pick up the line with your finger by pressing on your finger and dragging it to the inbound point here and adding that by pressing plus, and AvPlan will ask you, would you like to insert an approach? If you want to insert an approach, tap on the approach, and that pops the approach right here into your flight plan. And all your waypoints are there. If you want to clear that off, if you want to clear off the chart, press the clear button down the bottom here. And if you want to clear off, if you decide you don't want to do the approach or you want to continue VFR, you could just take these out by sliding them with your finger from left to right, like so. There we are. So for the purposes of this flight, we're going to remain in VFR. I just wanted to show you that feature because it's pretty neat and it's also pretty new. So a lot of people aren't across it. I'd just like to show you that. Now, next up, let's take a look at our lowest safe calculator. So we've built you a lowest safe calculator for each leg. Now, this is a premium feature. So if you are not a premium subscriber, you will get the calculator, but you won't get this next point, which I'm about to show you. So for everybody, you can double tap on a leg, and that will bring up the calculator here and a splay here. You can choose by going to Setup what kind of splay you'd like to have. So this is the RNP2, which we default to, which is a 5 nautical mile splay, but you could have a VFR 10 nautical mile splay, and so on and so forth here, even a NavAid's dead reckoning here if you want. So by tapping on Setup, you can change the presentation of the splay. And as I said, we will default to RMP2 there, which is the 5 nautical mile splay. Once we have the splay here, you will see your obstacles and your highest terrain highlighted. They're down here near Wollongong, which of course, if anyone who knows the escarpment will know that there's quite some small mountains and whatnot around here. So those are flashing. Your highest obstacle and your highest terrain are flashing there. And if you choose to use this user lowest safe, then we will add that to, by pressing accept, we will add that to your flight plan, and that will override the grid lowest safe that you have there, and it will be marked as user so that you know there that you're overriding the grid lowest safe. So it's put the user in here. So if the lowest safe is in brackets, that means that we are referring to the grid lowest safe, and the grid lowest safe is always going to be higher than the user lowest safe because the user lowest safe is only looking at a very specific area pertaining to your track. So we've added that there. If we want to add it for the next leg, we have to tap on the next line here and so on and so forth. And for this leg here, our obstacles and terrain are being highlighted. If we want to add that, there is safe, so on and so forth here, adding it by pressing accept there. So now we have a 2-stage flight plan with 2 ETDs. Our final arrival time at Merimbula is going to be 0320 UTC. Of course, what we can do is we can also upend or reverse or invert our flight plan by going to the edit button here. When tapping the edit button, if you scroll down, you'll see under plan, you can reverse, invert or append the plan. So if we want to go home, we can press reverse, and that will bring us home the same way as we came. If we tap the edit button again, we can now see we have a much larger plan. So we might want to land at Merimbula here. Press on Merimbula, press land here. Let's land at Merimbula. Create a 3rd stage flight plan. And then we've got the reverse going home. Of course, now we'll have to add a 3rd ETD here. So we're landing at Merimbula at 0319. Let's say we want an hour on the ground at Merimbula, perhaps to pop to the beach. We can then pop 0419 in the ETD here. And we now have a 3-stage flight plan that's going to take us home back to Bankstown there. Anytime you want to make any changes to your navlog, you can simply come down here and press the edit button. This will also allow you to move legs around by picking up this grey line here and moving the legs around as like so. Any changes that you make to the navlog here, of course, are going to be reflected over here on your map. Also, at the bottom of the edit section, you can clear old times, tracks, fixes, passengers and whatnot. If you're reusing an old flight plan, which of course a lot of us do if we fly a regular route. So here we go. Here's our 3-stage flight plan, and we'll see this now reflected in our weight and balance fuel planning there. Well, 1, we'll have 2, and we'll have 3 there. So we might want to refuel, and we'll do that by adding the fuel to our main tanks over here in our weight and balance. Now, I'm in a Cirrus, so I'm probably going to make it all the way there or not, but let's just take a little look by filling out our weight and balance here. So let's just pop me in the front seat, a little bit of baggage in the back, and the de-ice fluid because I'm in a Fiki equipped Cirrus. Let's fill her all the way to the top and see what happens in our next stage. Scrolling over, we can now look at our endurance, our fuel required, and our margin down here, and you'll see, of course, they change as we move through the weight and balance there. If we want to refuel, we can see it's calculated how much fuel we're going to use here. So we've still got 286 litres on board when we are at Merimbula, and 324 litres on board when we're at Shell Harbour there. So we've got plenty of fuel to get us there and back without having to refuel. Should you refuel though, simply add the refueling into your main tanks here. Now, as you can see, I've set up a default taxi here because I fly out of Bankstown and the school from which I hire is quite far away from the runway. So I've worked out that I need 5 litres of taxi fuel, and I've set that up here under my aircraft, Foxtrot Echo Romeo, by pressing on the I. Let's go back and do that again. By pressing on the I for Foxtrot India Romeo, I get the information up and I can change it there. I can also change it over here in settings under aircraft type database, which will open here. And I can press on my aircraft type. You can see Foxtrot Echo Romeo is here. And tap on the call sign itself and scroll down to the bottom And here you see you can add your default. So you can put in a default passenger. That's the shortcut over here, and this is the detailed way to do it. You can put in your detailed taxi fuel, which is 5 litres here. Your default loading, you can add here. So if you fly with a similar configuration at all times, you can simply add yourself here to the front seat. And you can even add your default fuel. If you always say fly on tabs, you can just add the tabs there. And that will remain for your aircraft type. You have to do it for every call sign. It's specific to your call sign there. Okay, so now we have a 3-stage flight plan. Let's take a look at some of the choices that we have in our flight plan reports. So we've brought these to you recently, and I just wanted to show them to you because they are new. We've now given you a choice in the way that you view your flight plan report. So this is our standard flight plan, but if you come up here, you can scroll. You've got classic AvPlan EFB. You've also got Navlog, which presents it to you this way. So each one of these has a different presentation. As you see here, your Navlog, you've got your 3 stages because we're doing a 3-stage plan. And you can print these out if you want to and fill them in. But as you can see, it has populated your ATIS, your ground, and all your frequencies there. And on the third one, we've got a landscape flight plan here, which has a different setup, and all your fuel calculations come over here. And as you scroll down, you'll see fuel calculations remain. And here are your different stages. We can also view that one in portrait mode by tapping on portrait there. And so back to the classic. Here's our standard classic. And this is the way you'd be used to seeing it in the past there, with your fuel calcs at the bottom. Now you can also change the presentation of each of these flight plans by tapping on the settings icon here. And you can see you can have double space, you can have stage headings, flight levels, and you can even print out a blank one in case you'd like to fill that in later. So those are our new flight plan reports. And here's your load sheet, which you may also like to print. Now, of course, you're going to have a 3-stage load sheet, as we have a 3-stage flight plan. So stage 1. And if you'd put in a passenger manifest over in weight and balance, that's where you'd see the manifest. So you'll have stage 1, and you need to go back to see stage 2 and stage 3. So should you ever be ramp checked by CASA, this is what you'd show them to show that you've completed your weight and balance, loading and fuel calculations there. So after we've set up our 3-stage flight plan, we can submit via NAIPS. Just as we've done in previous webinars, the only difference is that we do have 3 stages, and we can scroll through those by tapping on the stage button here. So with a SAR time, you can only file 1 SAR time at a time. You can't file 3 SAR times for 3 separate stages. So your choice is you can file a SAR time for the first stage and then file a SAR for the second stage after you've landed, and then for the third, and so on. Or you can just file a SAR time for stage 3 and cancel your SAR when you get back to Bankstown here. So let's do that by filling in the SAR time here. So we know what time we're going to get back at Bankstown at stage 3, which is 0520. So by tapping the SAR time line, AvPlan is going to deduce that you're going to want to take perhaps an hour before you cancel your SAR after landing on the ground to get your luggage out and whatnot. You can also see that in local time, which will remind you in your head to cancel your SAR by 20 past 5. Of course, AvPlan will remind you. It will put the SAR time into your calendar, and you will get a reminder to cancel your SAR time through AvPlan. And of course, you can cancel that in the app. You don't need to phone send SAR anymore. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So firstly, we tap on the SAR time. That adds the SAR time here. So what we've done here is we've done 1 SAR time for the entire trip. And we're going to cancel that this evening at 20 past 5. We'll use no send as we did in previous webinars, so that we don't actually file the flight plan, we just simulate file the flight plan, and we'll press submit and see what happens. And if there are any errors, those errors will be available here for us to see what we've done wrong. Nope, everything's great. So it's shown us our 3 stages there. Everything's broken down. And if we want to make any amendments to those, we can do so right here on the flight planning form. So let's say we arrive at Wollongong, Shell Harbour in the morning, and we run into a friend. We decide that we're going to stay a bit longer. We can amend that SAR time. We can amend that ETD out of Shell by overwriting it and just resubmitting the flight plan. So every time you put in a flight plan and you make a change and you submit, that just comes through as an update, an amendment there, and you'll just see the change that you make added to the flight plan. So we've gone ahead and we've made a 3-stage flight plan that's gone from Bankstown to Merimbula and back via the VFR lane. If we want to cancel, if we decide not to go at all, we've made this flight plan, get to the airport, the weather's absolutely rubbish, and we can see here, looking at the blue dots, that we do have some marginal weather. Blue means marginal VFR, so we might get to the airport and decide not to go. We can delete the whole plan by tapping delete next plan there. It's like you never filed a plan at all. Or you can amend your SAR time here in your SAR time directory. So you'll see your SAR time there. There'll be a simulated SAR time, this one at the bottom, because we didn't really file a flight plan. If you really filed your flight plan, that won't be simulated. Of course, that'll be a real SAR time, and you can cancel that here, or you can overwrite it by putting your new SAR time simply in here. That will change your SAR time there, change via app, or change via voice. Of course, if you're doing this on your phone and you want to call Sensar, you can do that also. So you can cancel your SAR time in the app anytime or amend it there. And once again, if you want to make any amendments to your flight plan, just do them on the interactive flight plan here. And you can go ahead and make your changes in the flight plan. And once you've landed, if you want to have a look at your flight plan, your flight track, if you have show flight track ticked up here, which I do, you'll see your flight track and how you've flown as a green line there and back. And you can send that to yourself by popping down here and pressing send flight plan. You can export it. You can send it to someone else's app. You can also send a FPL format, which can be imported into Garmin, certain Garmin handheld units. You can tweet your flight, you can Facebook your flight directly from here. You can sync your flight to the cloud and then hop onto our website and use some of our cloud services there to gather more details about your flight. When you send your flight to yourself, you can open it in Google Earth and have a look at your flight in Google Earth too. Oh, and I think that concludes our advanced flight planning session. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me here at Krisha@AvPlan EFB.com. We have a full-time support desk, and we're here to answer all of your questions. So don't be shy. If there's anything I haven't covered in any of the webinars, anything you'd like to know, any questions that you have, please contact us. You can also contact us via the live ring up here, and over in settings through the help center or chat box. You can also see all these webinars on our website, AvPlanEFB.com, as well as our tutorials, and you can access our manuals there as well. So once again, thank you for your time and have a great day.